So I have a 3-year-old son, which means I know a lot about giving timeouts. Now, if you're not familiar with the timeout concept, it's when your child's generally keyed up with emotions and they need just a few minutes to themselves to reset their emotional and mental energy, if you will. So our son, it's also to correct a little bit of a behavior problem, and our son has a problem with hitting, unfortunately. So these 1 to 2 minutes give him time to calm down and reset his emotions. And occasionally, when he comes out of timeout, he says, "Mommy, I'm putting you in timeout." And I'm like, "Cool, let's go." Give me about an hour. He plays along, right? Because he's 3, closes the door, and comes back in literally 10 seconds. But this got me thinking, what if we as adults could take timeouts during the workday to reset our own emotional and mental energy? Now, we run from meeting to meeting, trying to stay on top of email, office politics, most of us skipping lunch, only to go home at the end of the day to our loved ones emotionally and mentally drained. Most of our days are spent in survival mode, where we're very reactive. Everything seems urgent. This is why corporate America got the name the rat race. There's no time to slow down and think. But what if we could break out of this typical routine? If we could show up to meetings and, God forbid, conference calls fully engaged? If we could bring creative solutions to work? If we could positively collaborate with coworkers across the organization? And most importantly, if we could go home to those loved ones with some energy to spend quality, focused time with them. Now, this is what I think the power of timeouts can do for both our personal and our professional lives. Now, before I left corporate America, I was one of those in the rat race. I had a long commute. I led a large team, always in meetings, right? Only to go home at night while I was laying in bed, trying to calm down. I'd look at my email, right? You could, occasionally shoot off a few to my team, making sure I didn't miss anything. And I noticed one Sunday, I had 2 back-to-back days of meetings. I'm talking starting at 8, ending at 5, with a lunch scheduled. So it's my idea of pure hell. Those 2 days, not good for me, being constantly on. Not sure how it happened, because I wasn't important enough to have an admin, so I accepted all these appointments myself, and it just happened. But I made the decision right then and there that I was not going to let these days run me. I was going to run them. And I was going to do this by incorporating breaks or timeouts into my workday to counteract that requirement to be always on. So let me take you through what I did. On that long commute in, I listened to an inspiring podcast that left my first meeting started off really well, really positive. When a meeting ended early, and you know how people just chit-chat to fill the time, I got up, excused myself, went to my office, and listened to a few songs. On the way back from lunch, instead of looking at getting gas as a hassle, I actually enjoyed myself by leaning back against the car, closing my eyes, and feeling the sun on my face before I had to get back into those fluorescent lights. After an emotionally taxing afternoon meeting, I texted my husband to tell him I loved him, and I was looking forward to seeing him that night. Now, usually, at the end of the day, what energy I have left is zapped by that long commute home. What I typically would do is put on yet another podcast to get more information, but instead what I did was I drove in silence. Nothing, no music, nothing. Just let the day settle and let my mind settle. When I was ready, I put on some music that calmed me, and as a result, I was ready to receive all the energy my 3-year-old wanted to give me as soon as I got home. So as a result of these timeouts, not only was I a better wife and mother, but I was also a more productive, focused, and positive employee during the day. Now let me draw your attention to 3 things about my timeouts. One is that they were intentional. I set the intention the night before that I was going to take these breaks because we know how it goes, how habit sets in, and we just let the day run us. Secondly, they were short breaks. I didn't have time to go out for a 30-minute run. I had to fit them within that 8 to 5 schedule back-to-back meetings. So my shortest break, the text, was maybe 20 seconds. The longest break was maybe 5 minutes. I made them fit. And finally, and most importantly, my breaks recharged me. So when you think about that, and you may have noticed from my activities, they were really introverted activities. Music, connecting with a loved one. That's what recharges me. For you, you may want to go chat it up with a coworker, call a loved one on your way home. But the important piece is that you find out what resets your emotional and mental energy. So hopefully you can see from my timeouts that they're easy to accomplish within a standard and really busy workday. Make it your mission to take timeouts for more creativity, better focus, and ultimately better relationships. So you can see that these timeouts that are so good for my 3-year-old are also good for us as adults. Thank you.